Hi and welcome, my name is Maja and this is my tutorial for the T. Ocellus or the Midge from the series Alien Earth. This is going to be a detailed step-by-step tutorial that I tried to make as beginner friendly as I could. If you're not a beginner, just fast forward the way you see fit. If you make one of these, I would really love to see that, so my Instagram is in the description and you can tag me there. One thing is that this is my first tutorial, so I probably made some blunders, I probably did some poor explaining, but bear with me, I promise to try and get better because I would really like to share some more stuff that I've made. This is my first video, but the next thing that I have planned is to share this choker tutorial. It's a design of my own, let me just quickly show you. Like that. There's a red one too and a black one somewhere, but I won't hold you any longer. Let's get to the tutorial. Okay, so our little eyeball friend is worked in 3 pieces. There's the head, the neck and the tentacles, and it's all sewn together. It's not too complicated. For the things you'll need, the yarn that I'm using is Loops and Thread Silky Soft. It's a bamboo rayon. I like this yarn, it's very soft and nice to work with, but it does tend to split a lot, which is quite annoying. It's a light or 3. I know that my camera is not going to be focusing on all the details, and I'm sorry about that. I'll try to explain everything the best I can. The hook size recommended is 4mm, but I'm actually using a 2.75 because I kind of always tend to size down, and I want the stitches to be very firm and dense on this guy. The other color, the red, is the same yarn with I think this color is called Cranberry. You can obviously use any yarn, but if it's thicker, you'll end up with a bigger eyeball guy. Then you'll need scissors, of course, some tapestry needles for sewing it all together. Then the eyes are, in this one, are just like safety eyes, craft eyes. I actually have a first version of it where I used googly eyes, just like these flimsy plastic googly eyes. And if you want to use these, I can show you how I did that later on. I just made holes in the back and was like sewing them on. So yeah, and in this one the neck was a little thin and I just wanted to make like an updated version. If you want to add these little veins here as a detail, you'll need just some red sewing thread and a little sewing needle and stuffing to fill his eyeball. So first of all, we're gonna start with a good old magic circle, leave a bit of a tail, get in here, and into the magic circle 6 stitches, kind of loosely, to make it easier to get into the second round. That's 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Gonna pull this tight now. Okay, and this second row is gonna be 2 single crochets into each stitch. So we're gonna double the stitch count from 6 to 12. So that's 1 and 2 into the first one, 1 and 2 into the second one, all the way around. So if you've made a lot of stuff like this, this is gonna be easy. You can just make a ball where you have at first 6 rows of increases until you have 42 stitches, then 6 rows of 1 single crochet into each stitch with the 42 stitches, and then 6 rows of decreases. So just a ball, in case you want to fast forward a little bit and not go through each step here. Gonna tighten that up a little bit more. So now I'm gonna place a stitch marker here, which probably should have done from the start, but I tend to think that it makes it a little too difficult to see what I'm doing. And instead of like those plastic thingies, I prefer to use a piece of different color yarn. It's just easier in my opinion. Gonna place that there in between the first and the last stitch. And the third row is gonna be similar, but we're gonna do 2 stitches into the first, 2 single crochets into the first stitch, then 1 single crochet into the next one, then again 2 single crochets into the next stitch, and 1 into the next one, 2 into the next one, and 1, alternating 2 and 1 all throughout. That should be 18 stitches around. Gonna move my marker here across. This also makes it easier to count the rows, in my opinion at least. Next row is gonna be, again, 2 single crochets into the first stitch, and then 2 of the next stitches, 1 into each. So 1 single crochet, and then another, then 2 into the next one, 1 and 2, 1 into the next one, 1 into the next one, and then 2. One. Alright. Moving the marker to the front. And again, 2 single crochets into the first stitch. Then it's 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So 1, 1, and 1. Then 2 again into the next one, 1 and 2, 1, 1, and 1. 2 again, 1 and 2, 1, 1, and 1. Okay. Same thing again, and now it's 2 into the first one, then 4 single crochets, 2, 4, 2, 4. You get the idea. I'll stick around for 1 and 2, 1, 1, 1, and 1. Okay, so next one is going to be the last increase row. Again, marker to the front. Same thing, 2 stitches, 2 single crochets. Sorry, I keep doing that. 2 single crochets into the first stitch, and then 5 single crochets into the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then again 2, then 5, until the end of the row. Okay, so now you should have 42 stitches around. And I hope that I do, because I can't really see what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna pull out my stitch marker here, and the next part is gonna be easy. Okay, come on. Kind of refresh, put it back here, and the next 6 rows are just gonna be 1 single crochet into each stitch all around for 6 rows. Count your rows. Gonna do a few here. Four and 5. This is also a good way to count that you have the right stitch amount. So I'm gonna use this first row to count and make sure that I have 42. Other than that, I'm gonna fast forward all of this and meet you when it's time to start the decreases. And that is 6 rows here of just 1 single crochet into each stitch. Got a little hat here. I'm gonna pull out my stitch marker yarn again. And now the last increase row was 2 and 5, and we're gonna do the same thing, only now it's gonna be decreases. So placing the marker back here, and I'm gonna crochet 2 stitches together, and I hope that it's at least somehow visible. I'm gonna only go into the outside part of the stitch here, through here. Instead of these 2, I'm only gonna go into the outside one. 1, pull yarn through, second one in the next stitch, pull yarn through. I now have 3 loops on the hook and pull through all of them. That's a decrease. And what I've learned is that if you only do it on the outside there, it'll leave less of like a bump there. Like it's the decrease is less visible. So next is gonna be 5 single crochets into, or single crochet into each 5 stitches. 3, 4, and 5. And I'm gonna show that decrease again into the outside part of the next stitch there. Yarn over, pull through loop, into the outside part of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through loop, and pull through all of the 3 loops on your hook. A decrease. Then again 5, 1, 1, 1, 1 and 1. Okay. Next row, same thing. Decrease and now 4 stitches. So decrease into the first one. I mean two single crochet stitches together. I don't know the terminology, I'm sorry. So 1 loop, second loop, and through 2, then 1, 1, 1 and 1. Decrease. And 4 again. Okay, and I also think that some people crochet in a way that this is like this, but I've always done it this way, to where I'm like on the inside edge. So I'm sorry if that's confusing anybody. Okay, next row, same thing. Start with a decrease, and then 3. So 1, 1, and 1. All the way to the end. So we have a few more rows to go here, but I think I'm gonna put the eyes in now, because once this hole gets too small, it's really difficult to get in there. So I'm gonna pull this loop here to not lose the stitches and get the safety eyes here. So if you're going to use safety eyes, I think this is a good point to do that. I had actually never used these before I made this guy, and realized that it's a little bit of a process to get in there properly. Like, you don't want to put the stuffing in first. At least with these thick ones that I have, it was difficult to get them in there. But what makes it easier here is that the stitch count is divided by 6, so there's these ridges here conveniently because he has 6 eyes. So you can just use these as a marker to find the right spot without having to count the stitches or measure, and have them pretty evenly in there. So the safety eyes are in place now, and I've also put some stuffing in. You can do that at whatever point you want. I just feel like it's easier to do before it's too tough to get in there, and with these things poking in on the inside, I wanted to get it like above them at least. And I ended up also pulling out the stitch marker yarn. It was getting in the way, but I'm gonna put that back now. And we're going to continue with the same thing of doing decreases by doing 2 stitches together, and then it's going to be 2 normal single crochets into the next 2. So the whole row is decrease, 2 single crochet, decrease, 2 single crochet. Show that just a couple times. So into the outside loop of the stitch there, into the next one, and then single crochet, and another single crochet, another decrease, and single crochet, and another, until the end of the row. Okay, almost done. 2 more rows. Same thing, decrease into the first 2 stitches, and then 1 single crochet into the next one, decrease, oops, and single crochet. And now it's time to just fill this up nice and tightly, so more stuffing in there. last round. That's just gonna be decreases into each stitch. Actually, if you don't want to do this, you can just end it here, because this part is gonna be covered by with the neck. But I'm just gonna, to be sure, do that. And that's it. I'm gonna pull out the marker. And now, actually, I think I'm already going to sew these ends in. I'm not going to be using them for attaching anything. That'll be in these parts. So just to get rid of these dangly pieces at the ends here. So now that the head is done, I'm just quickly going to show the alternative for the eyes if you want to use googly eyes. And these are the kind that don't have like a sticker or anything in the back. It's just flat plastic. And the way I did that was I made holes in the back here with a thin sewing needle. So you gotta make a hole on both sides, just push through there on the edges there, and then you need to lift the edge so that you'll be able to push the needle through. So you gotta do that on the other side as well, like that. It's a little bit tricky. And this way you can just sew them on. It's more time consuming for sure than the safety eyes, but it's an alternative. I'm not going to show the whole process, but I think you get the idea. Next up, we're going to be working on the neck. So the neck is kind of like a hollow tube that we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up and do this edge here with some picot stitches, if that's how you pronounce that name. We're going to start by making a chain of 40. So that is a chain of 40, and I highly recommend counting as you go along, because at least for me this is where I always somehow mess up. So chain of 40, and that's 40. Now make sure that it's not twisted up, and we're going to join this into a circle by slip stitching into the first stitch here. And then we're gonna single crochet into each stitch around this loop by starting into the same one, into the same stitch that you made the slip stitch into. So single crochet into each stitch, and it doesn't have to go through like both sides of the stitch, just on the edge is fine. Also, I recommend counting this row as well to make sure that you indeed have 40 stitches. So so that's the first row, 40 stitches around, and there's a bit of a gap there like that, which is fine. It's gonna be sewn in and doesn't really matter. I'm sure there's a way to make that not happen, which is at this point beyond me. But let's continue. I'm gonna bring in another stitch marker yarn, put that there in between, and now we're gonna make some decreases again. So the first stitch here is gonna be 2 stitches together, 2 single crochet stitch together, whatever it's actually called. And you can again either go into just the edge there or through the whole stitch, which I think I'm gonna do it that way because it doesn't really matter here. So through the first one, through the second one, and like that. Then it's gonna be 3 single crochets into the next stitches. So 3, decrease, 3, decrease, 3, all the way around. Okay, so that's that, and moving the marker again. So we're doing this in this kind of funny way in order to basically create 8 sections here for each of the 8 tentacles, so that there's kind of like a flat area here for each of the tentacles, and it'll be so much easier to sew them on, and also give the neck kind of the correct shape. So the next row, similarly to the head, we're gonna start with another decrease and then do 2 single crochets into the next 2. So decrease, 1 and 1. Another decrease, 1 and 1. Same thing all the way to the end. Now moving the marker again to the front here, and now the next 2 rows are going to be 1 single crochet into each stitch. So twice around the circle with just 1 single crochet into each stitch. That's gonna be the thinner part of the neck. So that was 2 rows of 1 single crochet into each stitch. Now we're gonna increase our stitch count. You can pull the stitch marker off, kind of refresh it at certain points, put that through there. So it's almost like a reverse of what we just did, which is now 2 single crochets into the first stitch. So 2 into the same one, and then 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So 1 and 1. Then again 2 into the next one. And 1 into the next 2 each. 1 and 1. And then same thing again. 2 stitches into 2 single crochets into the first stitch. Oops. And 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So 1, 1, and 1. Then 2 again into the next one. 1 and 2. And then 1, 1, and 1. Same thing until the end of the row. Okay, so now we have only 1 row of the neck left, and that's going to be the picot stitches. So 1 single crochet into the first stitch. And then we're gonna chain 2. 1, 2, and slip it into the bottom stitch there through these 2. Pull through, slip stitch there. I'll show that a couple more times because I'm not sure I'm explaining it too well. So now we're gonna single crochet once here and second one here and picot again. So chain 2, go into the third stitch there, the inner part there, and then this piece here. Now 1 single crochet and 2 single crochet, chain 2, go into the third inner loop there, and the one that is kind of like just next to it there, and slip stitch, single crochet into the next one and into the second one, chain 2, into the third loop there, if I could get in there, and the loop next to it, pull through, slip stitch, single crochet and another single crochet, chain 2, into the third loop and the one next to it, slip stitch. So last one, last picot, and if I explain this in a completely terrible way, you can be mad at me in the comments. It's okay. Then we're gonna slip stitch into the last stitch here between the first and last picot. Right, I'm gonna pull out my marker yarn, and I'm gonna pull actually a pretty long tail here because I'm gonna be using this thread here to sew the head on, so make it decently long. Pull that through here, and we have a tube, a little neck tube that the head is going to fit on, like that. Now it's time for the tentacles. So the way they're done is we're going to start at the center here and work this flat area, and then on the sides of it the tentacles themselves. And this is also where my patience and want for realism kind of ran out, because these are just flat pieces, they're not thick like they actually are on the image. It's just gonna be single crochets, half double crochets, and treble crochets to make them thicker at the end there. But first we're gonna start here, and this piece fits here at the bottom like that. And I also, to be responsible, I sewed in the loose end, or the end here at the bottom, just so that it's not in the way. But to get started with the tentacles, we are gonna do another magic loop, magic circle, and into it we're gonna do 8 single crochets. That's 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Tighten that up. And the first round is going to be 2 single crochets into each stitch, doubling the stitch count from 8 to 16. and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 until the end. Okay, so 16 stitches around, and there's gonna be a bit of a hole here in the middle, but that's okay because we can tighten that up by sewing this in later on. So on to the next row. Gonna get my stitch marker yarn back here, and we're gonna continue increasing. So we're gonna do 2 single crochets into the first stitch, then 1 into the next one, and 2 again into the next one. And 1 and 2 in the next one until the end. 1, and that should be 24 stitches around. Next, again, same thing. 2 single crochets into the first stitch, and 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. 1 and 1, 2, 1 and 1. So that should be 32 stitches around, and I'm gonna put the marker away. Now we're gonna do the tentacles. So first, 1 single crochet into the first stitch here, and then we're gonna chain 60 stitches. So that's a chain of 60, and if you end up miscounting these, because there's gonna be a lot of counting, don't worry. I mean, unless you want your tentacles to be perfectly even and all of them to be precisely the same length, it's not that precise. As long as you have about 60 stitches, it's fine. So let's do the first one. 60. So that's a chain of 60, and then we're gonna do 1 extra chain here and start going back into the second one here. So there's the extra one, and then go into the second one here, and again it doesn't have to be through both of the sides, just the edge is fine. And I misspoke earlier, we're gonna do slip stitches here at the very bottom, and then go into single crochets, half double crochets, double crochets, and treble crochets to get like an increasing thickness of the tentacle. So first a slip stitch into the first one here, and you'll keep doing slip stitches for 15 stitches. Again, not 100% precise. If you miscount it a little bit, that's okay, but it's gonna be 15 slip stitches, 15 single crochets, and 10 of each half double crochet, and treble crochet, equaling up to the 60 chains that we did. So let's do the rest of the 15 slip stitches here. That's 2, 3, and so on. Make sure that the chain doesn't get twisted around. And now we're gonna do another 15 single crochets. we're gonna do half double crochets. So yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull through loop, and pull through all of them. 10 of these. So that's 1, 2, and so on. Now we're gonna do double crochets into the next 10. So yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, that's 10, and there should be 10 chains left here. Let's see. I think I have 11, so we're pretty close. Now we're gonna do treble crochets into the last ones here. So yarn over twice and into the next chain here. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. I won't say that again because it's difficult to pronounce for me. So yarn over twice, 2, 2, and 2. So that's the end of the treble crochets, and we're gonna attach it here into the circle in the 3rd stitch. So skip 2 and go into the 3rd and slip stitch. Then we're gonna do 1 single crochet into the next one, and the same thing, gonna chain 60 and make the next tentacle. And that's it for the tentacles. I'm just gonna attach this last one. Slip stitch, and then you can slip stitch into that last stitch there in between. Like that. And again, you'll need to pull a long tail for this one because we're gonna use this to sew the tentacles into the neck. Okay, so now we have all of our pieces. And I think I'm gonna start by attaching the head and the neck and then put the tentacles on last. So what you need to do is make sure that it's just placed here evenly and it's easy to see from the bottom. Actually, this way around? Yeah, here's the this side is uglier, so I'm gonna leave the pretty side at the top. And you can see the center there in the middle, so it's easy to make sure that it's evenly placed. And one thing is that when you start stitching this together, leave the picot stitches kind of pointing out, so don't attach those directly into the head so that they stick out a little bit on the side. Instead, you can go into the stitch kind of here underneath it, it's time to sew on the tentacles. You're gonna need a little bit more stuffing if you want to put some in the neck. And one thing you need to decide is which side you want on top. If you want the top of the stitches, it just has a bit of a different look. In this one I went with the top of the stitches above, but I think I'll try to do it the other way around this time. And before I start to sew this on, I'm gonna close up this hole in the middle here. So the thing here is that intentionally the neck has a bit of a sectioned look here. There's 8 sections intentionally, so that it corresponds to the 8 tentacles, and it'll be easier to place them around the neck. The thing is that the centerpiece, this center circle, is not quite large enough to cover the entire neck, but that's intentional, so that there's a little bit of an edge here, because his tentacles are kind of coming out from underneath the neck. And depending on how much you want it, this edge here, this little hem to be poking out, you can sew the edge of the circle down here into the pretty much the second round. Yeah, second round. Or you can go into these first treble crochets of the tentacles and sew them closer to the edge. I think I'm gonna do that. So now I'm gonna look for this section here and actually go into the side here, the side of the tentacle, because I'm gonna sew into the first treble crochet there. And then up here, very close to the edge, not quite over it, but just close to it. And you can do however you want, 2 or 3 stitches per tentacle to just make sure that it's securely in there. And before you close it entirely, remember to put the stuffing in if you want to. And that's it. Now, if you chose to go into the first treble crochet of the tentacles, there's a bit of a gap here where you can see the stuffing from. I don't think it should come out of there. I mean, if you really want to, you can go another circle just to secure this more, but I think I'm all set. So just gonna tie up this loose end and then gonna do the last thing, which is the little veins here. The one last thing, if you want to, you can create these little veins here. If you don't, then he's done. He's all done. But if you do, you're gonna need some red sewing thread and needle, and I don't know how well I can even show this because the detail is too small for my camera to pick up well. But I just created these little lines here that aren't even or symmetrical or anything. I can try to show a couple of them, but I think you can just do that however you want. I'm gonna start here, close to the edge of the neck. And just see what looks good. And that's it. He's all done. Like I said before, if you actually ended up making one of these, I would love to see that. I'm gonna put my Instagram username in the description there, so you can tag me there. I don't really have any other social media, but if you can tag me there, that would be amazing. I would love to see that. I mean, I don't know if this video is going to reach anybody. It really is my first tutorial ever and the first video that I've ever posted on YouTube, so I don't know what's gonna happen, but it would be awesome if anyone finds this and makes one. I want to see that. Let me know in the comments if you had any problems or anything at all. I will reply to everything the best I can. I know that I probably made some mistakes or caused some confusion, for which I'm sorry. But if you made it this far, thank you so much. And like I said before, I have some other things that I would really love to share here, some other patterns that I've made. So consider sticking around and subscribing. I don't know how quickly I will be able to get anything else out because, as you know, these things take time, but I am really planning to share some more stuff. And one last thing is that in case you would happen to want to listen to a podcast about this very show, Alien Earth, where this guy is from, I'm actually on a podcast and we covered the entire Alien Earth series. So I'm also going to put that in the description. I mean, we weren't too happy with the show by the end of it, but at least we got this little guy out of it all. That's everything. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.